New American Liberty League, listen. I know I don't have the face for videos or the voice for podcasts. So to our family in Cuba that listens but have no idea what we're saying, I'm sorry. I am Daniel Leonardo Hernandez D. Hearn. This is my son, Emil Alexander Hernandez, in whom I am well pleased. In the notebook today, we're going to get into the biggest topic there is, God. That's going to be our big topic. In the news, there's a lot. There's just a lot. What's going on with the FBI and the Epstein list, Ukraine, Russia. There's just a lot. We got a lot of news to catch up on and get into. In the capitalist pig part, we're going to tell you why not to panic. Everything being red and volatile was foreseen. In life, I'm not even sure where we're going with that yet. We'll figure it out when we get there. Let's get into the big topic, Emil. I've been reading a book by a astrophysicist named Stephen Myers, and he touches on a lot of the stuff that we've believed and we've even hit on a little bit before. He puts it into amazing detail. There is no way to disprove God. There is no way to disprove a creator. The numbers simply do not add up. People will tell you there's trillions and 2 trillion galaxies, 3 trillion galaxies, whatever it is. There has to be life somewhere. But the thing is that more than 2 trillion things had to go right for life, for Earth, for the solar system, for matter, for all these things to work. The numbers, they still not add up. In the very beginning of the Bible, God said, the first words of the Bible, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. You have energy, you have matter, you have time, and you have space. All of our physical dimension coming into existence in one shot. The thing is with God is God doesn't fill in these gaps that atheists and science cannot answer by itself. God doesn't fill in gaps. Every single thing that had to happen, you could trace right back to God and a creator. Darwin, there's so many things he cannot explain. Where did the first cell start? How do you get that amazing jump from monkeys to this? Humans that believe in art, love, go to space, watch movies. Our consciousness is something extra. Evolution cannot make those kinds of jumps. Everything about God can, because God thought, spoke, and it was created. There is no way to disprove a creator. Not only did so many things have to go right for Earth to be able to produce and maintain life, the speed in which our universe is expanding had to be just right. If it was too slower, things would be too dense. Gravity would have crushed us. If we were expanding too fast, just by a little bit, the universe would have been too hot. Life couldn't have existed. If you think about it, every single thing that happened in our physical realm is perfect. Life. When you look at a human being, when you look at our cells, our bone structure, our organs, it's not possible. It is not possible without a divine hand, without a designer, and without a creator. I've been to this point in my life where I try to force myself not to believe. I try to force myself to be an atheist. And within myself, every time I thought I had an angle, I realized the harder I tried to use science and logic against a creator and against God, the more I proved in myself that there was a God. It is impossible to disprove a creator. If you want to have conversations about things in the Bible, different religions, so on and so forth with people, that's fine. But no one can disprove a creator. There is and there has to be a God for any of this to make sense. I know that's a big topic, Emil. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, at some point I considered myself an atheist too. But the more and more you look into it, you sort of realize that the numbers in the design of everything just point more and more towards a God. And that's why I don't really think, if you look into it, you're going to stay an atheist. You can become agnostic, which I think makes much more sense, which is you believe there's a creator, you just don't really know which religion to follow. But even then, I think if you're agnostic and then you read the Bible, everything also makes much more sense that the true God is the God of Abraham.
Yep.
I think mainly the design element that I think his name's Stephen Myers was the most interesting part that he talked on. Was even in the individual cell, there's almost like machine, like stuff like modern machines that we would make, but inside of the cell, and I thought that was very interesting.
And how about, besides all that stuff, besides the science that backs up God, how about just the way things happen in people's life?
So I think our family is very blessed, actually, when it comes to this. The timing works out for our family unbelievably. Like, we'll think about something and we'll be like, man, nothing is really working, or like we'll be looking for some time, and right when it's meant to happen, something just drops in our lap, like beautifully, and very often too.
Yeah, you could see, man, I hear so many in our family, our stories, so many other people I talk to. You see the way things in your life had to add up. You had to be here at this particular time with this person here at this particular time that has disbeliefs, that's in that position to make this happen in your life. And just when you start to see the way things work in your own life, every individual, there's no way, and I do believe in free will. God mentions it all the time. But I do believe that even though God gave us free will, you see his divine hand in so many things. And when you open your mind up to even accepting the fact, as an atheist, if you open your mind up to even accepting the fact that there may be a creator, the more you open your mind up, the more you start to see God in all of these aspects and timings and situations and everything physical points back to God. And even things like that, even things that have that divine touch, the human consciousness, human emotions, all these things that don't have that physical element, even those things lead back to something bigger. This is our physical world that we know, that we trust because of our eyes, because we're life, because we're on earth. There is something much bigger than this physical world. God is and is of something much bigger than this reality that as humans we could even begin to grasp. There is something that we cannot imagine, and that something is God.
Yeah, I agree. When you talked about things happening for a reason, I just want to mention that also goes for things that you might consider bad in the moment. We've had many things that we're like, man, this really didn't work out for us. And then we'll look back at it 3 months later and we're like,
Thank
wow,
God.
that worked out perfectly for us,
God.
actually.
You know what? Let me use a meal as an example. I'm going to use a meal as an example. Before I knew there was any Jewish in my family, before I even cared about the Bible, before we decided to learn Torah, before I knew Messianic Judaism was a thing, Me and his mother met in high school. 15, we came up with his name. Her name's Amanda. My name's Daniel. A-M-I-E-L. Emil. That was to us the only meaning. Fast forward to after everything that happened in our life from a perspective of a relationship with God. A-M-I-E-L, the name, has only a meaning in Hebrew. Only in Hebrew. And it's God is my people, or the defender of God's people.
Defender of God's people.
Either way, when you look at the way God works, the way God ties things together, you realize that our perspective isn't big enough. These things that are happening to you right now in your life right now have been placed and designed and guided for generations beforehand.
I like that word that you use. I believe that we all have free will, but I do believe he guides us with things like thoughts, and maybe sometimes even emotions. And that's not to say you can completely go against his guidance.
Yep.
I believe it.
Happens all the time.
You can have all these amazing thoughts and just be like, no, I'm going to go do this terrible thing. But if you just follow that guidance as he intends, and you read the Bible and you try to build a connection to him, he'll just guide you to prosper. Whether on this earth or the next one, I do believe he guides us. And I think that's why when people argue, you see all the bad things going on in the world, why wouldn't he just stop it? Well, because he gave us free will.
Right.
He also gave us the free will to do bad things.
Yes.
But those people in the next life, they might have some tough questions to answer.
A lot of explaining to do. We all will have some explaining to do. But yes, if you look at every bad thing that happens in your own life and as a world perspective, when the bad and the evil truly happens is when we go against the will of God and against what Christ taught. And when you, I think that's it. When you use your free will to go against everything that has been laid out for us in the Bible, when you use your free will to go against God, we are answering, why is there evil? That is the answer, because of us, because of humans, because of human nature, because of us sinning, which is in essence resisting God and the teachings of God and the teachings of Christ. That was a big topic. Let's go on to the news. Sponsor this half hour. You know, I really couldn't think of nothing specific, but I just want to thank every company, big or small, that has dropped all this woke nonsense over the last, what's it been, month or two. Not only do we thank you because it was better for culture, we thank you because all the gay shit's annoying. Sponsor this half hour, every company dropping the woke crap. News, Emil, there's a lot of it. There's a lot. I don't even know where to start. But it has a theme. This is a theme. This first month with Trump has been amazing. You see the great negotiator he is, because he negotiates from a place of power. My hope is that continues. My fear is that maybe on some of these things, the administration won't be forceful enough to keep negotiating from that place of power. He is going to have to make some big moves at some point, and some of these things already are. You labeled the drug cartels in Mexico as a terrorist. If Mexico is not willing to act against them, we have to act against them in Mexico. And that sounds ballsy, that sounds crazy, but a point has to be made that we don't just say things and let them continue to happen. With Doge, Elon is finding out a bunch of this corruption, wasted money, and by wasted money, that usually means more corruption. The money laundering, we are pointing out great things. We're calling them out. People have to go to jail. Whole federal agencies need to be cut. People have to go to jail, or it loses its meaning. Israel, with what's going on with Israel and Gaza, Israel, you're going to have to stop saying never again when you talk about the Holocaust. If you go in there, kick butt, and then have a ceasefire and let these people continue to regroup. It's happened over and over and over again. If Trump truly supports Israel, it is time for now, because of Trump, this is the time Israel and America can truly get rid of Hamas and Iran, which funds Hamas, and you make the Gaza Strip Jewish and Christian. The two-state solution is Israel and America. If not, you lose that leverage of power if you're all talk. What's going on with Ukraine and Russia, we have to throw our weight around. These are lesser countries. Russia's no longer the Soviet Union. They're no longer the Russia many people grew up with. It is time to throw our weight around there. We gave you this much money. We want this to happen, and it's going to happen. And the truth is, with Ukraine and Russia, for America's interest and world interest, the relationship with America and Russia is far more important and could be far more beneficial to us and to the world than anything Ukraine has to offer. And the big one, keep all this in mind, Emil, because I want you to just answer them how you please. The big one, what's going on right now, that I think me and Emil both think could lead to something that could really become a huge story moving forward, is what's going on with the FBI, the DOJ, and the Epstein list. They made public everything they have about the Epstein files. The problem is the federal Southern District of New York, so the courts of the federal courts of New York, were given a lot of the stuff from Biden's FBI's investigation into Epstein, and they will not release it even to a federal government that is demanding them to release it. The deep state, if Trump is truly sincere about draining the swamp, like he said for the last 8 years, someone needs to go into that court and start making arrests. You could go through all the processes you need to, but at the end of the day, if you want to negotiate and be in a position of power, shit has to hit the fan. And to me, it's a perfect way to prove you're willing to do what it truly takes to drain the swamp, to send the FBI in there, to send whoever you need to in there, and make an example out of these people, and finally get to the bottom of the Epstein list and start making the case for what dismantling the deep state really, really looks like, more so than just this. I know that was a lot, Emil. What do you got? Any of that specifically? The idea in general?
So I guess the first one I'll start off with is the cartel. If we went into Mexico, when he first told me that idea, I was like, I'm not really too sure how I feel about it. He brought up a really good point to me that I liked, which is it's actually not just for this administration. It's more so that when Democrats get power again, if they ever do, that Mexico is scared to let these cartels come back over America. So it's not really for now, it's more so for in the long term.
Not because Democrats have power, because Mexico knows eventually a Republican will be back in the office. So you set a precedent almost as something the Republican Party believes in. We do not care about going into Mexico to destroy these cartels.
So I think that's actually a really smart idea. Let's talk about the Epstein list. I think these people in New York have to be considered what they are, which is pedophile defenders. they're defending pedophiles. And we have to make people like that scared. Whether that be Trump going in and arresting them, but personally what I think is a better solution is people like us going, if you're in New York, marching up to that and making these people feel scared.
Of
like,
the people.
Yeah, of the people, not just of the government. But I think that's something that has really lost its way in our culture is people think they can do whatever they want and not be scared of backlash.
The left.
Yeah, the left. But yeah, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they're getting away with what they're getting away with. But I hope Trump ends up, like what you said, using some sort of force and arresting these people. And when that Epstein list comes out, I think the people on the client list of
the client list
should also be made scared by the people.
Yeah.
Like,
so supposedly Epstein kept really good files of what was bank related, what was business related, and what was sex trafficking related. So you may see some names on a flight log for banking that aren't on the flight log coming to pedophile island. So either way, in today's world, you're either good or evil. You're either good or evil. This is something like the Epstein list when we're trafficking minors. I don't care what adults do. If there's 19, 20, 21-year-old girls in there that want to sell themselves, trashy but different. When you're trafficking minors or hurting minors in any way, the line is not political. The line is good versus evil. We need to get to the bottom of that. Let me just ask you real quick, Camille, about, let me ask you about Doge first. Like you were saying about Mexico being scared of coming Republicans, even for the 4 years Democrats have the White House, just looking forward. Doge could be another one of those situations. When you have a Republican in the White House, they cut government, you got Doge, but as soon as a Democrat gets in, all that crap goes away, all these agencies come right back, and you have a 4 to 8 year cycle. Would you support making Doge either somehow permanent in the government or at least some sort of permanent watchdog agency when the Democrats take power and then they assume power again pretty much every time a Republican takes power?
Yeah, I think that would be great. When Democrats are in office, they're pretty much just intel, which is what they are now. They're just intel. They don't actually...
Right. But at least president-sponsored.
But yeah, they're president-sponsored. I also think the best thing we could do for the country is annex California. Because then we never have to worry about Democrats taking power again.
Send them to Canada. Yeah. We don't need California. And Canada's trash.
And in terms of Ukraine, which I assume that's going to be your next question, I think what Trump did is actually very good. You were like, we have to pick one or the other, either Ukraine or Russia. It seems like we're going to be able to start mining in Ukraine for their natural resources, and we're going to work with Russia. So somehow we got the good end of both sides. I mean, I think we could have done that without sending trillions of dollars to Ukraine, but...
This war in Ukraine is maybe one of the most disgusting crimes I've ever seen. Every death that happened in Ukraine within 3 weeks of this war could have been prevented. The reason it was not is for money laundering between our American government, I'm sure some Republicans too, but mostly Democrats, and powers in Ukraine. It was happening through America in Ukraine. It was happening through Europe in Ukraine. This has been a 3-year war for no other purpose than money laundering.
You just reminded me of something else that we just heard recently. There was these classified documents by USAID that they were trying to keep classified so they couldn't come out to the people. Well, the Trump administration was like, screw off. These are no longer classified. We don't care what you say anymore. And what those classified documents said wasn't even anything like military related or anything. It was complete money washing. They were hoping these Ukrainian models go to fashion shows.
Supposedly. Which they were, but a lot of that money was coming back.
Just money washing, yeah.
Wow. Ukrainian models. Bigger picture on this stuff with Doge when you're looking towards the future. Doge, the way we treat Mexico, what's going on with the FBI. We now have a government that is separate. There is no longer one government here. You have your right-wing government. You have a left-wing government. Their goals are completely different. And what's going to happen is every 4 to 8 years, we're going to get these huge pendulum swings. There is a war of ideology in this country amongst the people. There is a war for power within the government. I still tell you, even though right now things look good, Trump just won, things are moving back to the right, long term, this nation is still going to split. Long term, if it doesn't split peacefully, there will still be some sort of civil war. When you have two governments, which is what we have now, when you have two governments, when you have the left-wing swamp embedded from top positions to bottom positions throughout the government, and you have another government whose responsibility is to drain said swamp, that's a war. There's no other way to put it. So especially, I think this stuff with the FBI and Patel against the old Biden FBI and the new DOJ against Biden's DOJ and the Federal District Court of New York. Keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on it because it sounds boring. It may not get the play it deserves. It could really be a game changer. It could end up being something huge. Fake sponsor this half hour. DEI. Do you miss the days of DEI? Do you wish that your skin color or sexual orientation really still mattered? And it was all that mattered. Do you wish all planes landed upside down still? Sponsor this half hour. DEI. Land upside down. All right, Emil, Capitalist Pig. I'm going to let you take this one. All I want to say is me and Emil said, no matter who won the election, there was going to be a pullback. The numbers were going to start looking more realistic. The media wasn't going to carry Biden's weight no more, whether it was Kamala, whether it was Trump. This pullback that is happening was always going to happen. The difference is with Kamala, it would have happened again all the way till it was time for her to run for re-election and they had to fudge the numbers. With Trump, this pullback is going to be a slingshot because tariffs are hard, but they will work themselves out. This will bring jobs to America. This will bring more income to America, and manufacturing and some of these companies will come back to America. Tariffs are hard. Give them time. Tax cuts will come, and maybe, even though I really want Doge to go towards the budget and towards the debt, politically it is genius to send people Doge checks. It's politically genius. Whether they're $1,000 or $5,000, I don't know. I would hope they're lower so that more of it could go towards the debt. But Doge checks are coming. With all these things, with lower gas prices, the egg prices, grocery prices, all this will sort itself out. This pullback, and it may last another month or two, I don't know. But this is a slingshot. So don't panic. Anything on that, Emil?
Yeah, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Doge checks, but in terms of the market, I think I agree with you. I think it's just priming itself to slingshot forward. NVIDIA, I'm going to get into a couple of individual stocks here. NVIDIA just had their earnings yesterday, and it was up 75% from last year. And NVIDIA fell down for some reason, which is a signal that it's ready to explode upward. It's currently sitting at 120, and I think if you buy in right now, you're getting in at a bargain. Me and him just bought more today. I want to also point out that if you bought Lightbridge early in 2024, when we were talking about it at $2, you're welcome. It's now 10x. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say on that. I think everything's on a great discount right now in the market, and just take advantage. You don't want to miss out. while everybody has fear and they're panicking, this is the time to make money because this is when you buy things on sale.
Real quick, Emil, yes or no? Or up or down? Bitcoin's at 80,000. Big pullback. It was, I think, at close to 110. It's at 80. From 80, do we go up or do we go down?
So me and him disagree on this one. I think Bitcoin continues to drop. I think Bitcoin was heavily overpriced at 100,000. I think it's overpriced at 80,000. The thing I have noticed about Bitcoin, I don't trade it, but I have watched it for 4 years, is it's very momentum based, and it's like kind of long-term momentum. When it starts going down, it just kind of goes down for months, and I don't see any reason why that would stop at 80,000. And when it goes up for months, but it's already had its uptrend, so I think it's going to drop back down. If your stock exchange lets you trade the inverse of Bitcoin, mine doesn't for some reason. I would recommend buying it, but he disagrees.
I think 80 is a weird spot. I think it's too much of an uncertainty because I think the lows are going to be higher than ever before, and I think the highs when they come back around will be higher than ever before. Emil could be absolutely right. Bitcoin could continue to drop. It is very momentum based, but I just think 80,000 is one of those things. A lot of people could continue to bail and take their profits, or a lot of people could see that as an opportunity and send it to 120, 130. So for me personally, kind of not touching it right now, but it's just going to be interesting to see what happens there. Listen, life. You know, we're trying to think of what's going on in life. Of course, there's always boring stuff we could talk about, but really, we need your help. Give us something. What do you want us to talk about in life? Tell us what's going on in your life, what you're interested in. For all two of you that have made it to this point in the show, thank you. And help us. I hate small talk. And I don't want to make it about small talk. And there's no sports going on right now that matter. There's no movies that are super important. Like nothing crazy is happening. Gene Hackman died, R.I.P. We're kind of weird circumstances. But there's just not much going on. Help us. Listen, support your conservative pages, support your conservative friends, support conservative businesses. As always, just find each other, support each other, and in any way possible, support our page. Watch these videos, send them to your friends, and we are the new American Liberty League, saving the Republic
one listener at a time.